All right, guys, I have a confession for you. I may have lied about who I am. Statistically, I'm a Chinese 26-year-old. Okay, I said it. It's not me. It's not Jordan from Off the Top. It's probably Muhammad, too. Just kidding. All those things were facts of the world. So the world is mostly Chinese, and the median age is 26. So obviously you can tell that we are going to get into some statistics today, guys. Julian, how you doing? Statistically, that is.
I'm doing pretty well. I'm actually very interested to know that the median age is 26. I would have figured it would have been around like 32 or 34. So learned something new already.
Yeah, exactly. And I find it really interesting, like kind of diving into the statistics of things, being that I'm in a master program that deals with econometrics, which is if you guys don't know, well, you have a better life than me at this point. And so econometrics is the love child of economics and statistics. Obviously, it looks like Brad Pitt has a personality of what you'd imagine statistics and econometrics together would be like. And so diving into some of these statistics about the world and, seeing kind of like what the numbers tell the story of in a world sense and in a human sense, I figured would be a really interesting podcast.
If you guys don't remember what statistics are, or for some reason you kind of lulled through that class, statistics are a very helpful piece and findings of data that can make work or predictions and estimates more efficient and concise by using certain sample sizes and various metrics or findings pulled in together to tell a larger picture. So
exactly. And just in case that you're thinking about taking a nap, this is not what we're going to be talking about, the techniques of this, but we are going to be talking about some of the interesting findings of such. So currently, what I found is interesting, talking about age a little bit, is that the country with the lowest median age, and median is just kind of like age in the middle, is Niger with a median age. Julian, let me take your guess. Do you think it's above or below 18?
I'm going to say it is below 15.
Damn, shots fired, Niger. What are you going to do about that? Actually, you are incorrect, thankfully, but not by much, which is unfortunate. The median age for somebody who lives in Niger is 15.4 years.
You gotta be kidding me.
I'm not kidding you.
That's rough. I was close, but a country is 15.4 years old. When you think in the scheme of things, in the States, at the age of 15, you're getting your permit to drive a car. So you barely have any idea of the real world at that age.
What I'm saying when I say median is that the majority of the people that live in Niger are 15.4 years old. So like that's right in the middle. So almost like your average, which is insane. Like the median age is kids.
One thing to think about too, as I like to think, if you were to pick a place in the United States with the highest life expectancy, you'd probably figure somewhere that is warm, somewhere that things are a little bit more peaceful. People are going to retire in and just enjoy their life. And I'm assuming that you've painted a picture of this warm and peaceful place that is surrounded by water and is an island by the name of Hawaii, where the highest life expectancy there is 81.3 years old.
Exactly. So if you guys want to live long, you either do it in Hawaii or you leave the United States, because the United States is about 39th in the world for life expectancy. So, there's tons of other places that you could be expected to live longer. And not only in Hawaii, but just to talk about the dark side of these statistics too. Somebody has to come in last as far as life expectancy in the United States. And the highest life expectancy, or the lowest life expectancy, is in Mississippi with 74.9 years.
74 does seem a little bit quicker than I would be expecting. And I guess I'm not in Mississippi to know, those living conditions in that life.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of interesting ways that people can kind of bend the truth or even light up a certain story just in the name of statistics. So another thing, not as much related to the life expectancy of human beings, but almost like the racial profile of the United States is right now currently, I think about half Caucasian, and then a myriad of other things. I think the next one is Hispanic and then Asian. But if we think about it in a sense of the future looking, it's been projected at about like 2055 that whites will not be the majority of the population anymore in the United States. And not in the sense that there is going to be less whites than there is another type of race, but what we'll have is about 48% white, 24% Hispanic, 14% Asian, and 13% Black in the mix, which I find just kind of like you could see the tide and the shift of, how a population is like acting in that own statistic itself. Julian, what do you think?
I think it's very interesting to see the diversity coming into at least stateside. And, if you look historically, that obviously we see America in history as being predominantly whites over time. And to see that kind of that switch to more people coming to America and assuming that this is considering people who are U.S. citizens, that there will be more U.S. citizens eventually of, diverse backgrounds, ethnicities, colors, homelands, essentially to, make the Caucasian percentage drop below that 50% or below that majority is truly fascinating.
It definitely is. And another thing that I feel like is like an interesting thing as far as like the statistics go is how much people earn. And so in like a country, you'll find like a GDP, which is the gross domestic product. I'm sure all you non like numbers or like economics people are probably throwing up right now because of all these nasty words. But so GDP is basically GDP per capita is how you estimate how much a population earns. So per person in the US, the GDP per capita is $55,800. And that's ranked 19th in the world as far as GDP per capita. So there are countries that are just like balling on another level at the first place or second place or even like top 10. That's not the US as far as GDP per capita. Julian, I want you to take a guess in basically the number one spot for GDP per capita.
In the US?
Yes.
I would say it would have to be, I don't know a state, but I'm going to go out on a whim and say it's somewhere in the Midwest related to oil.
That's obviously you didn't say state, but you're pretty on point. So believe it or not, what you guys can impress people with the next party you have, you can drop the line that the state with the highest GDP per capita is North Dakota.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with $72,719.
And I bet that 72% of people that live in North Dakota don't want to live in North Dakota. That's not a real number, but that's my guess.
They might want to if they're about that money. And I feel like the colloquial whipping boy of the United States, once again, we have Mississippi bringing up the rear. And Julian, I want you to guess about this one too. Above or below $38,000.
So if Mississippi has the lowest life expectancy, and I can assume that if you said the average median salary was around $55,000?
$55,000, yes.
I'm going to say that Mississippi is below average significantly to be below $38,000.
You'd unfortunately be correct in that assumption as well. So just a relative marking stick. So the average GDP or the GDP per capita of the United States, once again, is $55,800. And the GDP per capita in Mississippi itself is a just disheartening $34,784. So more than $20,000 less. How crazy.
Yeah, that is a good grip of cash. $20,000 can do a lot of different things for a lot of different people. It sounds like Mississippi. No offense if you live in Mississippi, we're sorry, but Mississippi doesn't sound like a place I want to be.
I was going to say, I'm going to extend the olive branch. Everyone who's from Mississippi who's listening to this podcast right now, just reach out to us and tell us the good spots about it. Because I know that there's a reason that you're trading off your life and your money to live in that place. There has to be. There's probably good barbecue down there. Or there's something.
And with statistics, people can also make very educated estimates, right? So those numbers we've kind of just spewed off there. I've been taken from figures in different sample sizes, but some people like Nate Silver use statistics to predict the outcomes of elections. Though they may not know the exact outcomes, they may have, see a significance in a certain place that is allowing them to predict, this state is going to be a quote unquote Democratic state or, a Republican state. And so Nate Silver in 2012 surprisingly used statistics to successfully predict all 50 states' outcomes. And one of the big things for this was because he was able to, with these statistics, it takes out all human bias and, things you might be hearing on CNN or Fox News and looks directly at the figures to predict all 50 states and which way they're going to vote in 2012.
And that's just the perfect illustration of how statistics are so powerful in the sense of it tells a story, but it could even tell a story that you didn't know existed. Sometimes you need to make sure or see something happen to know it happened. But in statistics, you can take an educated guess and be on point, like in this example, of what is going to happen, or in a sense, be a future teller of numbers.
Exactly. And, with statistics, there's also some things that you find that your odds are a little bit lower, or statistically, you don't really have a chance. And a great example being in March is March Madness. So you have to get a perfect bracket. You have a 1 in 9.2 quintillion chance.
So it's quintillion, quadrillion, trillion, billion. So may I hop on this number? May I embarrass myself? 9 quintillion, 223 quadrillion, 372 trillion, 36 billion, 854,775,808.
Which is 18 digits. Yeah, I don't think I've never seen a number that large in something's odds. And the reason why you have to think about this is there are, 1 through 16 seed in 4 different brackets. There's, I think, essentially 64 games being played. And to get those odds, if you're a, so to speak, 3 seed, you could win every single game and win the championship. And then there is another millions of chances that on other sides of the bracket, the 1 seed loses, the 1 seed wins, then the 1 seed loses in the next round, and so on and so forth. So, if you get anything close to a perfect bracket, whether it be, you got 80% of your picks right, 90% of your picks right, you should be very stoked.
Or you should just chalk it up to luck. And a few other wacky statistics out there is that the odds of an asteroid hitting the Earth, which obviously, the dinosaurs could talk to us about that, leave a Yelp review about what happens when asteroids hit the Earth, with the Chicxulub asteroid. But the odds of that happening is 1 in 5,000. So that's extremely low, you think, for such a thing happening.
Yeah, it's extremely low, especially when you put it in comparison to the odds of you being in an area or being involved in a terrorist attack, which we see on the news every single day, every week, is 1 in 9.3 million. So you are more likely to be on Earth when it gets hit by an asteroid than be in an area with a terrorist attack, which blew my mind. I thought those numbers would have been flipped.
Yeah, it's and I'm glad that they're not, to be honest, because when you think about asteroids hitting the Earth, you think about a huge impact that is going to rock, and take another moon piece chunk out of the Earth. But it's it's more of basically these things that like space rocks that burn up in the atmosphere and or land into the ocean type thing. And you'll see some of the notable ones happen in the in random places, but not that often.
And if you guys are ever on a game show, there is it's called the Monty Hall program. So I'm going to take you guys on a little journey. Close your eyes. You're on your favorite game show. You win your prize. You're on the final step to get this prize. There's 3 doors. There's a red door, there's a blue door, and there's a green door. And so you're asked to pick the first out of these first ones. You're asked to pick one door. And I don't know what color you picked, but I'm going to say you pick the red door. And then the host goes on and he goes, all right, let's see what was behind the yellow door. It opens the yellow door. There's nothing behind it. Then he gives you the option to pick between the red door and the green door and so if you stick with the first door, your chance stays the same at that 33.3% from when you first started. But when you pick that second, if you switch colors after that yellow door is open and there's nothing behind it, you have a 66% chance to win. Now knowing that, if I'm ever on a game show, I'm always going to switch my pick, which is super interesting to see how statistics come into play in scenarios where you could be winning big.
Once again, I hope that this podcast kind of introduces you to the ability that looking into the numbers or thinking about something in a more of a statistical or even mathematical way can change the game as far as how you perceive things. And that's a perfect example, or even an example of how we estimate like population size as well. And the fact of, you have this mass of people in a town and you can't really technically count them all. But what you do is you take statistics and the numbers of saying, okay, this is how dense this population is. This is how many people live in like a certain area. And so we're going to estimate with a birth rate that the population is X or Z.
And, if you want to make your own sample size or your own sweet statistic and, be able to tell people that 100% of people find you attractive, just ask your mom. She says yes, sample size of 1, answers, I hope it's 100%, because if your mom's saying you're not a good looking son or daughter, then you're going to be telling people that you're at a 0%. So, maybe you can skew those sample sizes, but I think you should at least have 1 in your bank.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast and learned something out of it and gained something from it as far as numbers go in the future.
Yeah, and just remember, 60% of the time, it works all the time. Thanks for listening.